Welcome, everyone. So we have Eric Cregger and Joe Turner from the tax office here. Yeah, it's be nice today. And I think Eric's going to do a presentation, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. So just save your questions. Okay, thanks.
Be up here momentarily. So appreciate y'all having me here today and inviting me. Let me make sure my phone's off. Never know, get a call from a kid's school or something. So it's actually just dealing with that. Had to go pick up a sick kid, then come here. So I wouldn't shake my hand. I'll just say that. All right. So thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate it. As you may know, we got a reappraisal notices out. I got mine just the other day. So I'll mention that too. There was a delay on money out of our hands. We use a print vendor. Took a while to print. Now it's in the post too. So you or your clients have any questions about that? Because we do not have updated appeal deadlines on there because we didn't anticipate this happening. I will always put a statement on there from this point forward. It says, if you receive this notice, no matter what day you receive it, you have 30 days to appeal. That's state law. Okay. Oversight. So if you guys get questions about that from angry folks about a 3-day deadline, tell them you got 30 days from that date on that notice. And if they can't appeal online, they just need to call our office. We'll make sure they can get it done. So it's been a real hassle. But anyway, I'll start. So we've been doing some appeal clinics and outreach here after the notice. For the last 2 years, I was appointed interim about 10 days before the lien hit. And then this September, I was officially appointed to assessor of Buncombe County. And it's been a wild ride. But I've been spending the last 2 years on the news, on WLOS, Facebook, social media, trying to get the word out about reappraisals. Trying to get the word out about people checking their property record card, about this being a self-reporting system for property owners. And people are still surprised by that every time I go out. It's amazing how much attention you can get, though, when you send a notice of value with updated market value estimates on them. Use the word estimate. How much attention you will get from that. That grabs attention. So these appeal clinics have been unexpectedly a lot of turnout. Joe, I'd say we probably nearly 500 people or more now at this point.
I would say at least we're consistently getting more than 50, 60, 70 people per clinic.
I mean, I showed up in Barnesville and there was nearly 80 people that showed up there. So I don't have a slide about it. That's what I'm talking about right now. So we've done, there's one in Sandy Mush, one in Black Mountain. That's the famous one now. That was the very first one. What happens? These were supposed to be walk-ins. Social media got a hold of it, turned into anything but a walk-in. Okay, it turned into a yell at the assessor conference, and that was fine. That's okay. That night, though, we did help a lot of folks. We were able to, once things whittled down, and the folks that wanted help that stayed, we did help them. So, just real quick, the goal of these clinics is to, one, we do a little presentation. We talk about our processes, how we come to value. It's high level. We talk about the applications we have, appealing online to help folks. And two, it's actually, that's people on staff. Joe joins us. Joe is a fee appraiser by trade, and he's in our office. Well, he's been in our office for a while. He was an assessor up in Burlington, Vermont for years and came back. So he's here. We have a lot of fee appraisers on staff. So what we do is those folks go to a table and meet one-on-one with folks that need help pulling comps. It's like the most difficult thing. If you're not used to doing that or you've never done it, very difficult. And I've been trying to explain the process to people. And we have an app to help with that. Another thing, too, is we did get some volunteers. I know Matt sent some information about volunteering for these clinics, and I really appreciated a few months ago. And it's been great. We've had quite a few volunteers, and they've been extremely helpful, and they've been providing an awesome service. Black Mountain was rough, I won't lie. That was the first official one. We learned some lessons, and we came up with a whole new process. Ticketing is really smooth. It's a flow. Last night we did one in Southside. I mean, we're staying at these places from Inca was 2 o'clock to I did 7 o'clock. Last night, Southside, Wesley Grant Community Center, 5 o'clock to nearly 9:30. We're getting our services. We're helping a lot of folks. We're getting them enrolled in exemption programs, tax police programs. We are helping them lower their value. If we find issues on their record card, they're on the spot. So trying our best to get the word out. But we've never done these before after a reappraisal, doing a reappraisal year. Okay. So next time we do it, we'll know. Right. Expect it.
Yeah.
And then no one will show up. So, anyway.
The last one's it's April 16th out, the Western Community Center.
Yeah, the last one's the one we have scheduled now. We could potentially have some more. But next week, I'll stop talking about it. We have one at Coots. We're going to have it at the Skyline Library. With this turnout, it's too small of a space. We're expecting a big one in South Ashland. So next Wednesday, and then Thursday, it's going to be at the Fairview Library.
Fairview Library.
Yeah. The following week will be at Weaverville and Leicester. Weaverville Community Center, and then Leicester next Thursday. All right. So I'll stop rambling about it, but if anyone's interested in it, go to our website and look at the schedule. Yeah, even if you want to come out and just check it out, that'd be great. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about the process. So this is for what I've been doing in the communities. So you all likely already know about a lot of this. So just bear with me, and I'll answer any questions there at the end. So what is reappraisal? So 100 counties in North Carolina, all 100 counties have an assessment office. In North Carolina, each assessment office is required to do a reappraisal on an 8-year cycle. So once every 8 years, we opted for a 4-year cycle, which is the most common. That's the recommended one to lessen primaries or lessen sticker shock. Okay. Still doesn't work very well. There's still sticker shock, especially here. Okay. Market booms so quickly. So obviously we were due to do one on January 1, 25. A lien hit. So one of the things after I was appointed interim, as soon as that storm hit, the day the storm hit, drove around, I was like, I don't know if we can do reappraisal this year for obvious reasons. Now, that's why we did it this year, January 1 to 26. Okay, that was the deadline. So the key thing to remember, and that is always surprising folks in the community, is that state law requires us to put property estimates at market value. What we would estimate you could sell your property for on January 1 of that reappraisal year. And that surprises a lot of people because I don't know how many times I've heard it. And my wife actually said this to me. Well, tax value should be lower than what we could sell it for. No, it shouldn't be. It'll lag behind as the years go by until the next reappraisal, but it should not be lower. It's difficult to do, which is why it is lower. So, because you're using mass appraisals. And I'll talk about that in a second. So, why did we have to do it this year? North Carolina Department of Revenue is the oversight agency for all 100 counties, all assessment offices. We received a letter from them on January 1 and 23. It says you have to do it by January 1 and 26. You have to. There's a state law out there that says if your assessment level is below 85% or above 115%, oh, that's my ringtone too. I thought that was me. No, I'm happy. I'm glad it wasn't me. Or above 115%, that you must do a reappraisal in the next 3 years. Okay. So what that means is if we are assessing the market at a median below 85%, you get that notice on January 1st of that year. So you got to do it in the next 3 years. So we did our last reappraisal in 21, and that was based on the real estate market, 2017 to December 31st of 2020. Now that explains the sticker shock right there, right? Because this one's based on the next day to this December 31st, last December 31st. So we didn't have the COVID boom baked into our previous value. So if you paid your property tax bill last year, that was based on valuations of 5 years ago. That's what we're feeling right now. That's why I'm getting yelled at in Black Mountain. All right. And that's okay. So another reason we do it is equalization and fairness. You know, you all probably know all this. You've probably heard it 100 times by now, but no matter where a property sits, they will sell for a different price. So the same exact house, if you pick it up, put it back here off Tunnel, put it in Hall Creek or go to Big Creek or where I live off Sweeten Creek or West Asheville where Joe's at, that same home will be worth something different. Someone's willing to pay a different price for that depending on where it sits. And our goal is to get it no matter where it is, as close to market value as we can. And also, we assess commercial property too. So we want to make sure commercial property hits close to market value as we can. Much more difficult commercial property is because it doesn't transfer as often, and so that's why we do things like the income approach. We have to take different approaches of value. It's apples to oranges. All right. So again, those previous values, 5 years old. So what happens with the reappraisal and overall valuation? So one of the big pieces of our job is to report taxable value to our elected officials each year. So that chart is real data. The part to pay attention to is 2017, those two red dots, 2017 to 2021. So you can see that big jump. That big jump, that's when you trigger the market. That's when you incorporate the market into your valuation. That's what that is. You get year-over-year growth, and in Buncombe County, you range in between 1.5%, 2.5%, just new construction, subdivisions, development, improvements, those kinds of things, both commercial and residential. Okay. But when you trigger in the market, bake that in, as you have to do in reappraisals, we have to do it. All assessors do. It makes it go through the roof. And if we were in a recession, it would go the opposite way. But we did not have that in 21, and we haven't had it now. So also, one thing I always say, your land and your building value should always change in a reappraisal. We assess, reappraise land and building. Okay, regardless if it's vacant or if it does have a home on it, they should change. All right, and let's get the snicker in public. Reappraisal is not a method to increase revenue. It's not. Property tax bill made up two things: tax value and tax rate equal to tax bill. We only care about that red text there, the taxable value, because that's all we can care about. We are not at all involved in the budget conversation in the county or the tax rate conversation. I have no idea what they're going to land on. What I can tell you, typically, when valuations go up the way they have, this is a trend in North Carolina. There's a chart on that in a second. Typically, the elected officials drop the rate. The key thing is to remind folks is they have to publish what's called revenue neutral. They have to tell you, and what that'll tell you is what that rate should be if the budget doesn't change much. Okay, so even if they drop it from 54.55 cents for every $100, which is what it is right now, go down to 30. But who knows what the revenue neutral rate is right now? I don't know, but it could be above or below that. You never know. So watch out for that. That happens in the month of June at some point. Something to pay attention to. I live in the city and the county, so I got to pay attention to the city council too, and the board of commissioners. So whatever municipality it's in, you got to pay attention to two boards. If you're out in the county, you just have one. So another thing is too, I know myself, my house, Joe's house jumped up 70%. Mine jumped up 85%. What I've been telling, yes, and I had a neighbor who doubled as well. Yeah. That doesn't mean your tax bill is going to double. Doesn't mean mine's going up 85 or Joe's going up 70. Okay, it doesn't mean that. We don't know the rate yet. That's a key component. And we have a lot of folks in the community that have come to us and they didn't realize that. They keep calling that notice their bill, even though we got text up there that says this is not a tax bill. Okay, it's just going to happen. So if you have clients that come to you and mention that, please get the word out. We don't know the tax bills yet. We won't know it until after July. When you start hearing the rates, you can kind of estimate what your bill will be. But those won't come out until August. Okay, I was talking about the statewide trend earlier. Buncombe County, no different than any other county here in North Carolina. These are counties that did a reappraisal in 2025. Look at Dare County up there. 73%. Okay? That's something. All right. We're not there. Don't worry about that. But that's overall. That chart I showed earlier, the year-over-year increased taxable value, that's what they'd be reporting. They're saying 73%. Ours is going to be anywhere from 50 to 70 right now, but when we get through, you don't know until you get through the appeal period. But we're going to land somewhere in the middle. Okay? Probably in the 50s, low 60s. And we'll be in the middle or the bottom of that table.
Less. I was reading today that commercial property has been flat or gone up a little bit, that the Biltmore had no increase whatsoever. And
I could talk about that in a second.
Okay.
All right, we get to the end here. I can talk about that. Comparing commercial and residential property, you can't do that. And I read that article. We were interviewed for that article, and headline, not a fan. Misleading. I don't care to say it. I'll say it in public. All right, how do we value? All right, mass appraisal. We use mass appraisal, okay? We do not do fee appraisal, all right? You can't go to a property and pull up a fee appraisal report online. Not possible, okay? 135,000 parcels, 7,800 of those are commercial. Rest are residential or exempt properties and vacant land, okay? So Joe's fee appraiser. Joe, I think we have 6 or 7 fee appraisers by trade on the team.
Yes, but
Something like that. Dozen staff appraisers who we're all certified, mass appraisal by the state, but we do have quite a few fee appraisers on staff. Okay. But
all of our appraisers, in our office have to be certified either by the DOR or with the NC board. That's the state law, actually. So when our appraisers come out and do the appraisals, they are actually educated as appraisers.
Yeah.
Just get that out there.
yeah, a lot of people like to give their opinions of value that aren't actually certified appraisers too. And it's always interesting. And difficult. So anyway, mass appraisal is what we use. Same approach as the value as a fee appraiser, right? Cost, income, sales comparison, but we do it in mass. And that means we group similar properties in the same vicinity, neighborhood, street, market area together that are similar, and track how those same properties are behaving in the real estate market. Okay. So example I like to give, and this actually helps a lot of folks who have never sat in on one of these and only pay attention every few years when they get the bill or the notice. I just call it a notice of bill. When they get the notice, I always tell them, the gold house right there, that's the subject property. That's your property. Okay. And this is a street. This is a street that may have a lot of different ages of homes and different types of homes. We get that a lot. We get that question a lot in Shiloh. I got it in the south side last night. Get it West Asheville. You know, these areas where things like gentrifications occurred. Okay. So what I have to reassure people is, yeah, your land value is going to be similar. Okay. Because somebody's going to buy that house, maybe tear it down and build a new house. But that land value is going to be land. It's going to be the same because they're similar lot sizes. But that gold house is not going to get compared to that Taj Mahal or that funky new house or the larger house. It is compared to houses of similar size, age, and condition. Okay, so that's what's important. We're tracking those houses of similar size, age, condition, location, and looking at them on the real estate market, seeing how they're performing, and using that to assign values. Our overall method or model is called the market adjusted cost model. That is the most common model in wealth appraisal. For the international standard, if there's property tax in any country, they're using mass appraisal. Okay. We have standards set in place by an association called the International Association of Assessing Officers. And we abide by those rules and those standards, and the North Carolina Department of Revenue enforces those on us too. So basically, I think of it as a pyramid. Simplifying it. The base of your pyramid is going to be your land. Okay. And we're tracking the market on vacant land transactions around the county. We do some allocation too, but we're tracking vacant land transactions. We're finding let's use 0.3 to a half acre sales in certain areas like a West Asheville, and tracking how those are performing in those areas. And we're putting market modifiers on it depending on where they sit, what neighborhoods they're in. But we're doing that all throughout the county. We're doing the same for rural land and large tracts too, okay? Because even if it's land, you still got to group similar properties together to make sure you're equal in your assessments. Now, the base of buildings, the building assessment is going to be cost. Okay, so we're using national manuals like Marshall and Swift to get started on that, but you really hone in and drill down on those costs by surveying your local builders and contractors, talking to them, calling them, to hone it in and build that part of your model. And then from that point, that's when the market comes into play. You're putting market modifiers at street, neighborhood level, trying to hone in how those properties will perform on the real estate market. Those two together are your value. So
how does the market value multiply? Like you're multiplying, what's the value for that? How do you determine that numbers?
So you're using the closing prices in those areas. So you have your base. So say your base cost for a particular homes, I'm going to use the easy number, $100,000. Okay, it's not real, but it's $100,000. And also, I didn't mention your cost is going to be replacement cost new plus depreciation. You put depreciation in there. Okay, so age really matters. And then you are tracking how that performs in the specific neighborhood, and that's what drives your market multiplier. So if my home is selling, say it's $100,000 flat, to just to reconstruct it, okay, what are homes like mine selling for? And let's say it's selling for $200,000, a market multiplier would be 2. So that's what that means. And the same with land. Okay. So you all may know this, but we're pretending I'm at a community event. So you can appeal. How you can appeal online at tax.buncombenc.org or .gov. Was .org. Now it's .gov. And then on that, you can look up the property. You can appeal, check the record card, do all kinds of things. I'm sure y'all have been on that site, so you know. Mail on your notice, on your appeal form that you received. Our address will be on there. You can mail it in. And you can drop it off at our office at that same address. Like I tell everybody, park in the garage. Don't pay for parking. We validate it. You've already paid for parking once, paying your taxes. So don't pay to come see the tax office. Also, at any point on that website, you can set up an appointment with an appraiser, an area appraiser that's assigned to that particular parcel. Or people have been calling our office quite a bit. Joe and I were just talking about it. Joe was talking about working from home today, but we might be going into the office to help answer phones. You can call that number, set up an appointment to talk to that area's appraiser. So you can talk to anybody, but you can talk specifically to your area's appraiser that specializes in your area. Okay. Now, the first question you ask yourself, I get a lot of laughs when we do this, but can I sell my property for that, what's circled on that notice as of January 1 of this year? Okay. Then if you can, you probably need to chill out on appealing. Okay. A lot of folks say that they was like, yeah, okay, it's reasonable, but I still want to see if I can get something. I mean, I tell them, like, you miss every shot you don't take, so go for it. But even if you do, don't stop. The next question you should ask yourself is if you qualify for tax relief. Because it's amazing to me. It's really sad, actually. Like, there's a lot of folks that could be receiving our exemptions that don't even know about them. Okay, tax relief programs are set by the state. Their eligibility, we can't create our own. Okay, and we can't even create our own eligibility requirements. There's an income requirement for a few of them, and way too low for Buncombe County, I think. But there's nothing I can do about it. The only thing we do is administer them and try to get people enrolled that do qualify. So we have an elderly exemption, disabled exemption, veterans exemption for fully service-related disabilities. We have a circuit breaker one, which I'm not even going to try to describe right now. It's online. It's very complicated. Yeah.
You have 2 to 4 in the whole entire county.
Yes. Yes, difficult. It's a deferment too, and it can be it's also acts as a lien on your property too, so people kind of back away from it. It's not my favorite one. But we also have present use value programs for horticulture, agriculture, and forestry, larger tracts. Don't really have that issue here in the city, but out in the outlying areas you do. So, I had a gentleman had to be 90 years old the other day, didn't even know he had an elderly exemption. He definitely qualified up in Barnersville. So, yeah, could have been enjoying that for quite some time.
One exemption, say you're getting present use exemption for a farm, the house gets cut off out for about an acre, right?
Yes.
But you're also elderly or a disabled.
You can do that. Yes.
So you can do.
You can do that, but you can't get the veterans and the elderly.
You can get.
So once you qualify for the elderly one, that's the one to take, because that could be half off your tax bill. Veterans is $45,000, not half bill your value, which matters. But the veterans is only $45,000 off your value.
So any elderly person?
No, they have to meet the income requirement, which is so around 30. I will say around 37,000. It's too low.
You're on a farm and you're
I can do about that.
Go ahead and apply for a veterans exemption on top of your present use.
You can, yeah. Yeah, because that's just a different type. That's a deferment, and and then a tax relief's different. So you can definitely do that. Yeah, 250-4915 is our exemptions number. So have your clients call them, or y'all call them. So
Value would look at to have large tract of land and you're working for a few other things. Some of them have different acreage requirements. Some are 10, some are 20 plus. They give you a decent amount off. You just got to be careful because it's a 5-year deferment. So if you sell that property, So you can go back and collect taxes for 5 years. It rolls after 5, though, roll off.
That also
Yeah.
happens for your heirs, correct? If I sell my dad's farm and take it out of farm use, then I'm gonna get that.
Especially if you take it out. Yes, if you take it out, absolutely. But if you have that property for 30 years or more or something like that, it's a very beneficial program. Just got to be prepared for that big payment when you sell. Yeah. And one thing to remember too is there are individual rate per acres for each type of production, and the state sets that. The Present Use Advisory Board sets that. We don't. It's significantly lower than market, so it's a major benefit. Okay, just some basics about appeals. This may be no news to you all, so I'll breeze through it. So, state statute says assessment office presumed to be correct. This is a self-reporting system, and the burden lies with the taxpayer to prove the assessment substantially exceeds or is below market value as of the reappraisal date. Okay. So, what do property owners need to provide? Proof of a listing area. Now, what that means, that's the property record card, tax.buncombe.nc.gov. Look up the property, scroll down on the property record card page and look at your land and building information there. Heated living area, square footage, total square footage, age, conditions, a big one, bathroom count. Bedroom count does not affect your value, but we do keep that information. If you have enough square footage, you can have as many or little bedrooms as you want. All right, but we keep that information for our planning, permits, environmental health departments. They refer back to that for things like septic permits, that kind of thing. Now I'll say this, we have right now, I'm going to jinx it, but we only have around 2,600 appeals. And the response I'm getting, yeah. Now they have, I hope. This week, I got mine this week. But I've seen some come in, we're getting turnout to folks who are just now getting them as well. So I'm waiting on that bigger response, but over half the county has received theirs, and we have 2,600. And the big reason I think that that's the case is we also have 500 to 600 now, Joe, as of today, probably updates on property record cards because people didn't realize they needed to update their property record card. Okay? So really, probably back in the day, it's probably been over 3,000 by now. And I'm probably those 2,600, probably half of them are property record card updates. It's usually what it is. It's usually how you get a successful appeal because we need good data on that card to get you a fair market value. Okay, and it usually falls more in line when you call and you correct that. Or you check it.
Good. Might be kind of an odd question, but what if you know the property that square footage is understated?
Yeah, well, I hope you report it, but your value's gonna go up. Yeah.
One that working on listing, they ended up selling about, but it was
Yeah.
like supposed to be 2,325 square feet, the property that was like 1,800.
Oh yeah, that can happen. And I've seen the biggest, most of the time that happens on older properties that are 50, 60 years old. We do our best to collect that information, site visits, neighborhood visits, aerial imagery to check our footprints, things like that. But you're not going to get everything, especially finished basements. If it doesn't change the footprint of a home, it's difficult for us to find it if we didn't have it right. So a lot of the data that we get in is from way back when, because we have a lot of old houses here. There's a lot of 1930s and 1940s. So you're inheriting a lot of old pen and paper data that we're cleaning up. Permitted works, yeah. So we work, yeah, so we see permits that come through, and we try our best to make sure we go site visit those and work them, especially if there's plans with them, it helps. But yeah, that's something we do get. Now, also too, we always tell folks, just because you pull a permit doesn't mean you reported to us and checked your data. So I always tell people, if you pull a permit sometime toward the end of that year, give us a shout, make sure we got it. Okay. So that's still not considered reporting. Last thing, the thing that we hate to do the most is discoveries, back taxes. That's not fun. We don't like doing that.
That goes to what you were saying earlier too, about you realize that a property is bigger than it was, maybe do an addition or something like that we don't have. It would be a good idea to go ahead and let us know, because the discovery period could potentially collect that. And you don't want to be back for 5 years.
With penalty.
With penalty.
And that's state law that we have to do it. So.
Footage, for older homes, with ceiling heights or anything that shouldn't be counted?
Yeah, let me get through this and I'll answer that one too. And your thing about the commercial. Saw hands there. Let me get through this part. And when I talk through the property record card, I'll talk about scheduled values that we'll have. Yeah, I'll mention that. And if I forget to mention it, we'll ask that again and we'll talk about it. So I always tell people, this is the hardest part. Hardest part for our community is the next step in comparable sales. So it's always been difficult for the public to pull sales comps. That's not just a state problem or a Buncombe County problem. It's all over the place. It's hard for people to understand the sales comp process, what to pull, what to find, and how to even do it. A lot of estimates are getting some. That's not a comp. Also, a lot of people are asking us about private appraisals. Do I need to get a private appraisal to fight the tax assessment? I'm like, no, don't do it. Please don't do it. We actually have, we're joking, we have a appeal clinic groupie following us around who's putting private appraisal postcards in people's windshield wipers, asking for a $300 check to be sent to a P.O. box in Cashers for a private appraisal to fight their. So beware of that. If you hear people talking about that, scam, all right? Don't do it. It's not smart. So I got some groans. Right, Joe?
Yeah. Paul can be appraised, free of fee appraisal until the last minute. Try to work it out with us first, and then you might want to think about it.
So here's the thing about it too. Fee appraisals, they can cost a chunk of change, right? They really can. So your tax bill, they might go revenue neutral, they might go just a little bit north of that, and your tax bill might change $100, and you paid $600 for a fee appraisal. To some guy in Cashers.
Your appraisal, you get a lot more than
All right. Now, next is contractor estimates. You did a renovation, addition, things like that. All that's good information. We see some of those. I don't know how much we've seen yet, but from like lien damage, things like that. So that's good information to have. As much information we can get about the property, the better. What's not allowed to be appealed is the anticipated bill or amount due, because we don't know it. You can't do that. The only part of your tax bill you can appeal is your value. That's it. So that's why there's an appeal period. You got to shut it off at some point, but you got to create the bills, and they have to set a budget. So you can only appeal the value. So also the ability to pay. Okay, the county was able to create kind of a mechanism to help folks pay their tax bills. The homeowner grant program. We don't know if that's being implemented yet. They're talking about budgeting that, but they've been doing it the last few years. So if folks qualify, they can check that program out. That answer for that will be coming out in a couple of months. I don't know if it's going to be there or not yet. So they will announce it though. And prior year assessments, you can't appeal your value from 21. Just come on, it's 2026. Don't do that. There's my spiel again about the tax bill. Okay, rate set by the commissioners, not me. I have to remind. Okay, so finding a comp. You all probably already know all this, but I'm sure you do. Within a few miles, within close to your property, similar size, same property type. We have folks that will have a single family home and they'll put a townhome in there. So you don't want to do that. Condos, single family homes, townhomes with townhomes. Of a similar age and recently sold preferably, which can be difficult right now, right? So, and recently sold is up to January 1st of this year. Can't go after because our values are set. And that's what's difficult. We've had some changes in the market since then. It's got to be January 1st. So that's state law.
What is solar? The solar increase the value? You don't consider solar?
Look into our system. We don't really have any sort of, we have that as an energy type on our property, but I don't believe we have any sort of allocation for solar.
We don't, we have it,
We do have green belt certification.
okay. I would have to look, I think there might be some sort of statute that,
There is, I cannot
allow us to assess solar, they try to give it a break, but I don't think we can legally.
That's my.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the case. Sorry. So for comps for the public, y'all obviously probably want to use MLS. I look at MLS, I think it's easier for me to use. But we have an app. This is step 2 in the appeals process, and there's multiple pages, including a record card, where you can pull comps for your property. It's called Comper. A vendor named Spatialist, which is a great vendor, helps us with that. On the second step, though, that's the dialog box you see, there's a button to click it. It'll pull your property up, and it'll automatically pick comps in that vicinity, but it doesn't discriminate with property types. So it's a little problematic. So I have to remind folks, go through the list and weed some out. Maybe mess with the filters, find some more that may fine tune it or go out further. But there is a tutorial video that the vendor put together to watch, and it is really good and really helpful for our public. Now, again, estimates are not a comp.
Don't know it.
Rick, before, after January 1 of 2021 and by December 31st, 25. Ideally, more recent. Yeah, last year or two. Things have changed, right? So, yeah, true comps are sales that have been closed or completed. So if folks insist on using those online applications, filter it to what's been sold, please. We have a lot of appeals based on estimates. Mine's actually close. I'm shocked. So that's what I was saying earlier. That's okay. No, that's what I was saying earlier, that market adjusted cost model. And a little bit about the mass appraisal methodology. You can't go to a parcel and look at and have a fee appraisal report with comps and all that. So we don't do fee appraisal, we do mass. It's not actually possible. The only time comps come into play is when we are testing after we assign valuations in mass. So we are going in spot checking, random checks in all the neighborhoods, trying to pull comps and see if they fall in line. We are doing that. That's why that comper tool is useful. It helps you see. And you know, we're finding as we pull that up and meet with people in person at these clinics, there's a lot of folks here who are walking away with they file an appeal, but they realize like it's pretty close to market. And it's a lot of folks who just haven't watched the market over the years and they're just shocked, you know. So, all right. So, appealing on tax.buncombenc.gov. You guys are probably familiar with the site, but type in your name or the address. List of the homes will come up, parcels will come up. Click one of those, and the two icons to pay the most attention to is going to be the property record search, which is the record card, which I keep ranting about, and the tax appeal request link. That goes to the tax site or the appeal site, but it's specifically on your parcel. Okay, so you don't have to find your parcel again. It goes right to it. Wait.
How many comps do you guys usually require?
3 to 5. That's great. If it's a unique property, obviously, do what best you can. Okay, reviewing the card. This is a safe place. This is my house. My wife saw our WLS news commercial that came on the other day, and I used this, and she looked at me. It was not good. I didn't know whose to use. I just panicked and used mine.
So it's the Black Mountain.
I didn't show us the Black Mountain crowd. That was the main criticism. We thought these were going to be, we advertised them as walk-ins, and it took a life of its own. I didn't have a presentation, and the next night in Burnsville, I had a presentation. And then they didn't really like the presentation. Eka and Southside was like, it's gotten better. The process has improved. For 29, we're going to nail it. So you scroll down, when you're reviewing your card, key component, scroll down for your land, acreage, neighborhood you're in. There's your value. There's my value. My value is from 40-some thousand to 100-some. Whether or not it's in a floodplain. I debate whether I'm in a floodplain, but the FEMA maps say I am. I don't feel like I am, but I am. And that's automated, okay? But can be missed. We have seen that, especially in Swananoa. There have been no's on that, and there should be. I've seen it. Scroll down for building information. Joe actually worked hard on trying to get that fixed.
Left on floodplain and overlaid it. And we calculate the percentage of flood within parcels and apply adjustments to each individual parcel in the floodplain. It was a task.
Yeah.
We do not have, nor do we have a lean flood map yet. We're waiting for them. It's estimated 2 to 3 years before we're going to get those.
And the latest we could use is from 2010.
Yeah, 2010's the latest.
It's not recommended. Our floodplain administrators say no. So
It has errors.
it has a lot of errors in it. So yeah, and we are asking folks to report lien damage to your land. You know, septic drain fields that are damaged we don't know about, that matters. There's additional sloughage off that where you've lost land into the creeks. Obviously there was homes and parts of parcels washed in. We try to get our best to get those. Landslides are difficult. We don't know about all of those. So those things matter. I'm expecting a lot of that to tease out in this appeal period.
Yeah, they, like when you go through appraisal classes, which everybody in here probably has at least once, you learn that land can't be created or destroyed, and we learned that that is not true.
Totally key.
Half of parcels get ripped off,
Yeah.
and we're fixing those,
Yeah, and I learned when I came interim, I got a call from the Dare County Assessor to talk to me about how he assesses when properties get washed away into the beach, because that happens out there in Outer Banks, right? So they really stepped up and helped us build our damage assessment manual and matrix that we had, and we went out and collected 10,000 parcels and adjusted down 6,000 or so tax bills because of the storm and stuff. All right, so then you scroll down to your building information. That's gonna be your main driver. Again, we all know it's heated living area, age, condition. No,
About what you just said, because in 2025, my tax bill went down after Helene, Greater
Yes.
Helene, and FEMA came to my house.
yep, so that was us. That's your area appraiser if you live out in Fairview area or something like that. So Greg, yep, so that's why.
So it doubled for 2026.
Yes.
What's my value? I mean,
Yeah, it's because the market, we had 5-year-old data on the market, and that's gonna trigger and jump it up. If you still have Helene damage, if you haven't repaired it, that should still be on your parcel, so it's worth calling Greg and checking. And if he removed it and you're still there, you can yell at him. Greg's a nice guy.
2025 value, and then you have not like a 21 value versus a 20.
Yeah, so those are tax years. So your value can change in between reappraisals. That's why we have it on the website like that. Your value can change because you've either had some damage or you've made improvements, okay, and repairs. So your value can change. And your 25 value may have changed, and that damage that we took in was based on if that storm occurred. It's really complicated. Based on if that storm occurred on January 1 of 21. Those base values, the costs, all that stuff is 21. Even last year during that storm. So we had to pretend the storm hit January 1st of 21.
We've had people recently like reported compare 21 to 25, and we try to tell them not to do that because those physical changes that we have collected or you have lost throughout those 4 years, don't give it an accurate representation. But
Correct. Yeah.
My value was fair, so I'm not complaining about that. It was an interesting process.
Thank you for saying that.
yeah.
Where's my heart? But yeah, that's great. Thank you. Condition is important. So that's a big one, big driver. We try to collect condition information, but we have a lot of homes. I know we have a lot of homes out there that are in normal condition that probably should be in fair condition, run sound or poor, but that hasn't been reported to us. We can't go inside of homes. We can't knock on the door and say, all right, assessor's office here. Can we just do a quick look-see and see? Can't do it. That's why we ask for folks to supply photos for supporting documentation when they appeal. Very helpful, okay? There may be some major issues in your home we're unaware of, and your outside might look just fine. Okay?
Quick question about that.
Yep.
So I have a house I'm getting ready to list, and then he just got the tax bill. Okay, his mom tried to sell it for like $210 2 years ago and couldn't get anybody to buy it. It's in poor condition inside.
Mhm.
He just got the new tax appraisal and it's $370. So it's like, and I'm looking at comps and there's like no way in God's green earth he's
Probably the problem.
But since we're getting ready to list it, should we just list it like that? And then when someone buys it, let them come and get,
If you're
they pay for it?
If you're listing it on the market, we can see it. It'll take us a while since we're inundated right now with calls and things like this. It'll take us a while to review the listing and make those adjustments. But I'd advise us to appeal. Call our office.
Even before
Absolutely.
we list. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
And get
I
it
know
fixed.
a lot of
Or
times
just call the office.
house, they go and then say, well, this is what I paid for it. So obviously that's what it's worth.
Yeah, so just call the office and set an appointment up, and they can go through and fix that.
Okay, so we can just.
They may be able to fix it then. All right.
sale. You know, I've got a property that I'm on the seller side, but it's about to close next week. And the tax value is about 65 more.
Mhm.
So could you use that existing sale
So
rather than comps?
we can't, just because you sell a property for whatever amount, we can't just take that and make that the value. That's actually not legal. Yeah, so it'll help establish a market value if you have many of those sales. So we pull them.
Appraisal associated with that sale, that appraisal, Michael.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, yeah. Yeah, cash too, yeah.
If they have an appraisal and it's a recent sale past January 1, they can send in that appraisal.
Yeah, you're welcome to send any of that in, yeah.
Cause I have attorneys holding agents closed and they're holding the taxes from the seller in escrow because it closed for so far. I mean, we're talking almost 100,000 under the recently assessed value. And we don't know what tax rate is right now. And so
Yeah, if you got an appraisal associated with that loan,
that's all they're
those
submitting.
odds are those comparables gonna be within range. And then if you can file an appeal on that property, upload that appraisal. We'll take a look at the comps that the appraiser used.
And we'll check the property record card too.
Exactly, yeah.
Could be an issue there.
That's the first step, right?
Yeah. My money's usually on the property record card because that's how it goes.
Clarify once again which comps we can use, because I thought we were meant to use from January 26 and older. But if you're using the comps from today, that's 2026. So
She was asking about an appraisal report specifically, so you can file, we can have that and have more information, because those supply additional information about the property that we would be unaware of, and that would help us in the appeal.
The problem is the appraisal report that you have, odds are we're pretty new into this year that there are gonna be some comparables in that report that we'll be able to use.
So why won't you use our own comparables only and appraisers comparable?
Oh, no, you can do your own appraisal, for sure, like, yeah, no, you can pull your own comps and send your own comps in as well, absolutely.
What he's saying
This
is,
year.
Yeah,
yeah, what Joe was saying is you're likely going to see in that report. So
Yeah.
recent after the new year, you're probably going to see comps from last year in it.
Okay.
Yeah, before January 1.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll probably be some in there after that we probably need to disregard, but it'll be the ones before January that we would hold in higher regard.
Well, the one thing, even though we can't really use those comparables, the value of the property as of January 1st, they can be supporting
Yeah.
in the value.
Right, yes.
Right.
Okay,
Another quick question. Can we call on behalf of a client to
Sure.
do this? Okay, they don't have to call themselves.
no, absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of folks call on behalf of other people,
Okay.
a lot of children on behalf of their parents, things like that. So, yeah.
I called to do a property that I own. It was so easy. I made the appointment online. I scheduled it for 9:30 in the morning. Brad called me at 9:30 in the morning. I was on the phone at 9:34 and it was done. And he gave me the tax rate that I expected to hear,
Yeah,
or the tax value that I expected to hear. It
Great.
was fantastic.
that's awesome. Thank you. Good job, Brad. All right. So, yeah, that's awesome. Rick's the property guard, that's what it is, most of the time. All right, so appealing, step one of the appeal, it's a 3-step process, try to make it streamlined and easy. But if you're appealing on somebody's behalf, or guiding them through it, at any point during that appeal, you can book an appointment, like she was saying, with your appraiser that specializes in your area. And it'll have their calendar on there. And you can pick what time works for you. They are backlogged a little bit, especially Brad, but you can find a spot. Yeah, Brad's a nice guy. Nice guy, especially 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, don't book an appointment at 3:30. But also you can call us 250-4940. Someone will answer the phone and they can book an appointment for you. If your clients are like, I don't want to use the computer, they can call our office too. Okay, we'll do it for them. Each point in the appeal process, the first 2 steps specifically, you'll talk about a little bit what I did just now, how to start your appeal, why are you doing it, those kinds of things. Step 2 is about supporting evidence. That's where you access the comp tool. Then always you can book an appointment. The contact information will be there on the right. Also, I don't have it on here, so we talked about that, delay when folks get a late notice. That will be on here. So we know when their notice would have been sent. So I worked with IT to make sure that they know that they have this many days to appeal no matter when they receive their notice. There should be links. Try my best here. And step 3, there's going to be a table at the top. It's going to have, you remember what the appeal form looks like that was with it? It'll have that same information, square footage, AC, foundation, that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be additional reasoning. You know, you can't have a drop down box for everything. Folks want to report termite damage, repairs to foundations, disrepair inside bathrooms and rooms in their house. So that's what that's for. People have actually used that to just list comps and text. And I told them if they want to do that, they got to supply address. And we're about parcel IDs, but address and information about each one if they want to do it that way. Contact information is key here. We really need you to supply an email address. We have some folks who don't have email, and usually it's one of their children or something. They'll supply that on their behalf, so they'll take it. That's important here in a second. And the very bottom is where you supply supporting documentation. If someone files an appeal today, they'll have 30 days from today to supply additional information. Photos, appraisals, their comps, if they want to take some time to look at those, and if they want to update that information, they can do it. So what's new, it's a brand new site, we revamped it. So one of the cool things, you can save a draft if you don't want to submit yet. I advise anybody to just go ahead and submit it because you can always access it again. And it's the reason you supply your email address, you'll get a link. It'll go right, do not delete the email. If you don't get it in 5 to 10 minutes, check your spam spam folder, because it is a unique link only for you and that property. I can't get to it, only you can. Okay, so make sure you don't delete it because you can access it at any time. You can update it within that 30 days. You'll get an email every now and then saying, hey, we're still working on it. I think it's every 14 days. Can't remember at this point, because we're asking folks to allow us 30 to 60 days to work it. And also, when it's done, if I'm not mistaken, you'll get a notification, an email notification. Click the link and go see the new value. But we will be mailing a notice as well. So when you get a notice from us, again, because they will get one, if you appeal, you'll get a hearing notice saying we're not changing it, or we did change it, it went lower, or in this case over there, if the square footage might go higher,
Right.
you will get a notice about new value with instruction of how to appeal again. All right, so our appeal deadline for the informal period, which is what's ending soon, is April 7th. Again, it's rolling 30 days when you get that notice. Really wish we could turn back time and put that on the form, but I can't. All right, and the very last date, though, is when our formal Board of Equalization and Review adjourns and closes. The formal appeal period is May 5th. So if you haven't filed an appeal before May 5th at all, that is the deadline.
So if you miss.
Or 30 days.
So if you, April, I'm just asking you, but what if somebody messes up and they do it on the 8th of April or the 9th?
If they
automatically out, or do they truly have to look at that?
You have, no matter what. So this is state law, why we have an formal and informal period. I'm not a big fan of it. I wish they would just say, here's the appeal period. Okay, but I have to have that. The deadline's May 5th.
So if somebody messed up or they were away or they didn't get it.
But if they get a notice from us and that notice date, it's really 30 days from that notice date. And when we send that notice, the new value, or we didn't change the value, 30 days to appeal that. And what that's called is a formal appeal to that board. The Board of Equalization, which is an independent board, not a part of our office. They're not county employees. A lot of them are actually Lotstar members, Matt. If you remember, we reseated that entire board, and you guys were excellent. Just helped me out so much in getting that board seated, and I really appreciate that. So that's a point. They were appointed by the county commissioners. So the commissioners actually interviewed them and appointed them. Okay, they hear the appeals for the property owners in the county, both sides, and they vote or they assign a new value. And those are real estate professionals, y'all, and I believe we have an appraiser on that board too. If you don't like that value, they will send you a new notice, and you can appeal that. It goes to Raleigh, the Property Tax Commission. If you don't like their decision, you can go to the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. That's it. Okay. I did have one very early, and I told him to hang on. Is that you? Somebody. It was you?
So when you guys determine square footage,
Is there a ceiling? So I'm going in front of the basements primarily, so.
Yeah, so-
7 feet or we don't.
We do need to know about, low ceilings and basements, right, Joe? Because that's a different grade of.
They're probably. We are anti-measuring standards, so it does have rules and regulations associated with some of that stuff. Dormer heights, 5 feet, basement height is 6 or 7, I can't remember.
7%.
And it's probably 70 for us students.
I have some clients who, the basement is very low, it's finished and permitted finish. So that square footage is on the finished part, but it's not in the MLS section when they bought it, it's like, 6 feet.
Yeah. I'll just reach out to your appraiser, maybe talk to them about it, and they probably will get some pictures to get more information from them.
Yeah, that's something we need to know about.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like a tape measure or whatever.
Okay, I got you, and then you have a question, you're next, and then drop a best. You got it. Are you talking about short-term rentals? No, we account, we're supposed to use we're supposed to consider all purchase of value, but we actually went to the Property Tax Commission because someone appealed our schedule of values, which is what drives our appraisals. And they appealed it because we did not tax short-term rentals additionally. We did not add additional value and put them. The assumption is you put them on the income approach, they're going to be worth more. Right, Joe?
That is.
Yeah, Joe actually did a highest and best use analysis on those for that case. And the Property Tax Commission ruled that it's a residential property. Income should not be considered because you cannot detect what a probable buyer is going to use that property for. That doesn't translate to the market value. That's business personal property, and that should get reported every January to the office.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So our office is not just real estate. That's a sub-department in ours called personal property. And that's the business personal property. So we value 250,000 motor vehicles every year. We value all the furniture, equipment, machinery in all of our factories and warehouses and offices. We do all that stuff. So we also map and keep track of all the ownership in the county too. So the assessment office is not just real estate. It's a lot, different wings. So
Just the price of the houses in Buncombe Forest, I remember reading houses that were on the market for 25 million, but their property value was 2 million.
well, what they're on the market for and what they're closing for is different. But about luxury properties, we have a appraiser specially assigned to that. And we actually tackle those with a team for this reappraisal. And those valuations are way more in line than they've ever been. I can tell you that. And there was a Watchdog article talking about that too. So definitely invite you to read that. We made major improvements in that. Mass appraisal is not perfect. I'll say it anytime I get in front of people. It's not perfect. We strive to be perfect. There's no way to accomplish perfection, but the goal is to make it better, closer, tighter for each reappraisal. So we're trying to get it better and better. You had a question next.
There was a margin of error that you all were comfortable with if your valuation was off?
There's an acceptable range that you have, and it's a 95% of assessment level and then 105%. So you're walking between a 5 to 10%. It's not that we're comfortable with 10%. It's that we build big models and you're going to have that. So when you're above the 5% or below 95%, maybe the appeal period can help hone those valuations in tighter. It's a big model based on different property types. Like I was talking about earlier, it's the market adjusted cost model. So it's not perfect. Goes back to what I was just saying.
At what point, like if you've got a $600,000 assessed value and someone wants to argue it down to like 540, is there a point at which you're just gonna be like, this is not worth our time?
If that person's not supplying any evidence and they're just arguing that it should go back, we actually have people come in and it's not worth that. Put it back to what it was in 21.
Yeah.
Put it back, and it's like, I would love that too, but I can't do it. You have to actually supply some evidence. Even if it's just additional information about the property, it's usually going to result in something. Usually. I can't remember the exact number, but it's more than 50% get adjustment. Okay? Yeah.
That was not quite.
Usually. I think in 21 it was like 55%, something like that. And it's not big adjustments usually. Usually it's your property record card and it just makes it fall more in line. It'll drop the value 10%.
Yeah, if you think you provide us information to drop your value $1,000, we'll do it.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
based.
what it is. I mean, we took a patio off a house, so patio's not there. It's $1,200. Okay, I cannot remember who was next after her. I've seen you raise a few times, and then you. Okay, and then you. All right,
Okay.
we'll go this way.
And the new real list, like the new property card, those are the new values, right?
Those are the new values, yes, ma'am.
Telling people they're curious, because I know if we're trying to help a buyer, like we don't have access to the letter that went to the seller necessarily, if it's a state thing like that.
Yeah.
County's website don't use realism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I always go to Buncombe, but I mean, it's the Buncombe tax card or the county.
Yeah, that should be your updated value.
Because that's what I.
There'll be times when that value comes off, and it'll say it's a work in progress. It probably means we're working on the appeal.
That's what I've seen a few, like, it's
Yeah.
been updated, with the other ones I've got it. So
Yeah,
that's what-
yeah, you shouldn't see many of those right now, because we're not working all the appeals right now. We're collecting that information.
Couple of questions.
Okay.
First one, you keep going back to updating property card. Counties only maintain permit records for so many years. I think Buncombe's 8 years.
Mhm.
Outlying counties are far fewer. So in our line of work, we depend on if it's captured on the property card, the likelihood of it being permitted work is high. How are you guys verifying when people are updating it if it's like they say, oh, I have AC now, and the HVAC system would have required permitting? What are y'all doing to determine if that was done properly and permitted? Or square footage increased because they.
That was I.
Well, we do site visits. Yeah. So permits usually trigger site visits on our part. At least someone visiting and making sure things are done, like additions, especially.
Because updating the property card or during this appeals process, you guys are helping them over the phone. Like,
Oh, I hear what you're saying now.
good work.
I don't think we should rely on that part at all for whether permits have been done.
We'll site visit that. If we're existing question at all, we'll go take a look at it. And one thing to keep in mind too, and I tell people is we are county employees. We find work is unpermitted or we see things that look a little off, we do alert permitting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and vice versa. If they see things that are done, they let us know too, because they check the record card.
So we'll keep the permit records for 8 years. So if this is going back and they're like, I see it a lot.
I'd have to ask them.
It is.
I would have to ask them like how far back they go digitally. That's what I'm worried about. Paper permits, sure, I get it. But digital, we've had digital systems since the 90s in Buncombe County, and I can't imagine that information go out back, because if we have it on our record card, it's going to be there forever. So
Property values have not changed significantly since January 1. And you have something that's listed now for over $100,000 less than what it was recently assessed at. There's no issues on the property card, and it's still not selling for that value.
yeah, I've been telling folks to contact us and still talk to the appraiser about those. Okay, really have, because there can still be something there that we need to look at and review. So the record card has just about all the information on it, but there could be some issues. I've seen one that was significantly higher than ones like it next to it. And there was a neighborhood issue. There was a code issue. So there can be some details there, and it's worth contacting us especially if its value doesn't fall in line with the ones next door to it. That's a big deal.
Let's maybe do one more question, then we'll wrap it up, and then you can fill more.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay, so if you look at, I assume the mass appraisal means that it's in mass and no human has looked at it. So when a human looks at it, and for instance, in my own home, the highest that's sold in my neighborhood is 730 and I'm at 830 something, and some neighbors are at 1 million. And I'm like, when you look at these comps, they show 700,
Yeah.
So like, do you just need a human to look at it and say, you're right, stuff isn't selling. We're not in Sovereign Oaks.
Yeah.
We're not over $1 million,
Yeah. So that's the appeals process. So we look for trends in those,
So-
and we do make neighborhood.
Comps are the same as your
Yeah.
comps, and I'm like, okay.
We do neighborhood level adjustments too. So that's important to know. Yeah. That happens every reappraisal too. So it's not going to be perfect.